Today is December 25th, 2024. And usually I would start off by saying, you know, Merry Christmas or Happy Holidays. But I can't really, you know, say it with a straight face. If you listen to my last video, you'll understand why my spirit been down for the past few days. And the way I wanted to do this video, I'm going to switch it up. I'm going to do it for like more of an educational reason. I do feel like, irrespective of how you feel about certain individuals, you can always learn something from them. So I'll talk about a couple different things, but the meat of this is going to be about learning how to keep your cool, even in heated situations. Going back to my experience in the ER, which I also believe gave me some issues outside of the hospital because I allowed individuals to let me get out of character, to make me get out of character. Excuse me. I forgot that, as a black woman, you know what I'm saying, you got to be a little bit more calmer than everybody else. You got to be a little bit more peaceful and respectful and tactful than everybody else. You got to be more than everybody else. Even sometimes when you really, really going through it. Because the minute that you snap, the minute you lose your cool, the minute you start cussing and whatever, well, there goes whatever humanity that you might have had. And some of this is going to be esoteric. For a little context, I had certain people willing to reel me in or whatever. It just seemed like they were willing to, like, let me start over, give me another chance. Powerful people. They didn't directly say it, but they have. These folks have, like, indirect ways of communicating with you. They do. And one thing I knew before I got sick the other day and had to go to the hospital was the quickest way for me to lose that is for me to get out of character. And I think they understood that. So they waited until I was the most vulnerable, when I was in a lot of pain and discomfort, to try to play with me and get underneath my skin. Because I guess they realized, like, once she lose her cool and say something off the wall or because she's angry and she's in pain, well, anybody who may have wanted to support her or let her let her be reborn or whatever you want to call it, like, that's over with. That's over and done with. They knew that. Especially as a black female, sometimes you gotta really, really keep your cool. People are very sensitive to what we say and how we say it. And sometimes they can become dangerous. Just like apparently they can become dangerous if you support certain public figures, whether it be a politician and or a celebrity. This is something that I've seen. Anyhow, there's a lot of things you got to keep to yourself. And if you have the negative emotions or whatever, sometimes you gotta muster up the patience. Again, regardless of how you may feel about me and my controversy, Trust me when I tell you this. Because while everybody else can get away with all types of stuff, including harassing you and other black women offline, or threatening you and other black women, listen, all it takes is for you to lose your cool and say the wrong thing because you're angry, because you're hurt, because you're depressed, because you're stressed out. That's all it really takes. And just like that, everything is over. Like, you got to know how to control certain things. Even who you may entertain romantically, you gotta have control. Like, they'll use anything against you. You know what I'm saying? They can use that. They can use your words, whatever. What you put in your body, what comes out your mouth, whatever. Like, you really gotta learn how to control these things. And I had to learn the hard way. Anyhow, it's kind of like relevant to this other story that they, the powers that be, excuse me, suddenly, conveniently decided to put out there, which I'm not, I mean, listen, I've always been a resident of Newark, New Jersey. I never lived in New York City. Never been a civil servant. Anyways, it's a story, and I don't know what they expect us to do with this story, but, well, you got two people who decided to do something that was unbecoming. And I don't know all the details, but so it affected their work as civil servants. They also conveniently happen to be black. I don't even know if the story is real. It could just be another troll story. However, based off what I know, like, yeah, two people decided to do something that was very, like, risky at work, and I put more of the onus on whoever was giving out the hours, whoever was fixing the hours. I put more of the responsibility on that individual. And also, he was supposed to be like the leader. He was supposed to be a leader. So he decides, I mean, they both decided to do things that was wrong, but he decided to put everything on a risk, everything at risk, everything on the line. Excuse me. He made a conscious decision to put his career on the line. And for what? I'm not really sure what they're trying to do, because once again, just like she's an adult, he's an adult, but he had a greater responsibility, in my personal opinion, because he was the one dishing out, schedules or hours or whatever. He wasn't an infant. He wasn't a baby. He made a conscious decision to do what he did. Also, I don't know why I'm supposed to care about this, because it's worse things happening. You just saw a woman a few days ago be emulated on a New York City Subway car, and people just walked past her. It wasn't no urgency, from what I saw. Even certain civil servants, it didn't seem like there was any urgency to go find a fire extinguisher, or to get something big and try to like I don't know, cover her body or whatever. It may not have worked, but who knows? Because I don't know. Sometimes, like, when you take away the oxygen, well, basically you you get rid of the fire. But I mean, if it's on, I would have to imagine, if it's on the human body, it can't be really, really out of control. But like when it first start, and it's probably burning the first, or maybe the second layer of the human body. And long as they're not fully engulfed, I think if you take a really, really big coat and you bear hug somebody really fast, you probably can put the fire out. But also, it can't be any like flammable solvents or liquids or whatever. I hear that she may have had alcohol around her, and if so, it could explain why the fire was so bad. Even though I thought it was wild, she didn't stop, drop, and roll or nothing. But I don't know if she was under the influence before this person attacked her. Also, was what certain people online are pointing out is the show of force with the Luigi Mangione individual who supposedly, or allegedly deleted CEO versus when they arrested the suspect who set the woman on fire. Like they did have a whole lot of officers around him to drag him to the courthouse for his arraignment or whatever you call it. And then when you saw the Guatemalan illegal who immolated the poor woman, allegedly as she was sleeping, whatever, you just had two officers dragging him, one officer on one arm and one officer on the other arm. My guess is the woman that was sleeping, who was set ablaze, wasn't rich. She wasn't rich. And so they letting you know that, everybody's important, but some people are more important than others. That's how I look at it. Like, you know what I'm saying? Like, anyways, I don't want to get too deep into that. But yeah, you gotta try to keep your cool, and even in situations that's not cool. Especially if you are this color. If life has taught me anything, it's taught me that. But something else that's kind of disturbing that I kind of want to get into is the people that's extreme as far as political parties go. Like, you've seen a lot of Republicans criticizing Democrats and how they're extreme. Trust me, you can find extreme people anywhere. Extreme individuals exist in all parties. In all parties. But nobody has a right to terrorize anybody for either changing their mind and changing their political party, or being a part of any one specific political party, or suddenly deciding to support certain Democrats. Like let's say you suddenly wanted to support this Democrat or any other Democrat, or I'm talking about the POTUS, right? Or if you want to support the Secretary of State or whatever, right? You shouldn't have to worry about if you're going to be harassed or anybody you love or care about. Or let's say you support their policies, right? Like you feel like they doing a whole lot right now. They're getting a whole lot of work done right now, right? You shouldn't have to worry about if you're going to be harassed or attacked or anything else from somebody on the right. At the end of the day, the POTUS is American, so is the Secretary of State. They're American citizens. They have a legal job. Even if you may disagree with their policies or political, like they didn't break the law to get those positions. Excuse me. They got those positions the way everybody else got theirs, right? So it's not illegal for any American citizen to decide that they might like certain policies, or they may want to support that particular politician. Whatever they may want to do. Let's just say if the Secretary of State wants to open the ozone layer to let in extraterrestrials to come down. Whatever they choose to do. Whatever they choose to do. Honestly, at the end of the day, it's the folks that you don't see pulling the strings that's still going to be pulling the strings. At the end of the day, I don't really think they're going anywhere. And another reason I'm saying this is because now you're hearing talks about Canada should be like another American state. Some of us don't necessarily agree. We don't agree with that. You hear things like that, and you hear talks of a potential first strike towards Iran, and it's just like, is it really this individual that's coming up with these ideas, or is it the individuals that you don't see that's usually pulling the strings, who's been basically pulling the strings the past 4 years? Some might say men in black, dark suits, or the most popular term, deep state. A lot of Americans believe they're not going anywhere. And in fact, they just getting started for the next term. They're just getting started. They're just getting started. This is why they're working very quickly to kick things off. Like they're working quickly to exacerbate certain situations in the Middle East and other parts of the world right now, because they not finished. They don't plan on going anywhere for all intents and purposes. But I believe, I got sabotaged. I think certain people was willing to bring me into the fold, into the circle. But then I got people that, and this is the irony, like some of them have gotten away with a whole lot of stuff for over 30 years, for almost 40 years, who have been working behind the scenes, even with certain people around here. They all got together whatever you was going to do to let her into the fold, like, don't do that. You know what I'm saying? I really think people started getting into people's ear. But I didn't help the situation by losing my cool a few days ago. As a female, just a normal menstrual cycle, sometimes you might lose your patience because you don't feel good, you're bloated, you're in pain. But then when you add something like endometriosis and ovarian cysts, particularly around that time of the month, and then your stomach be acting up because of the endometriosis, not where your reproductive organs lay, but I'm talking about like where you actually digest your food as well. All that starts acting up, and the pain is like through the roof, and you got people playing with you. It can be very, very difficult to keep your cool. Now, I don't think I mentioned it, but in the video that y'all saw, another reason why they was acting like that is because I broke one of the rules. If the rules is messed up, then people need to break them. I broke one of the rules. I went behind a nurse station and got water, even though they told me not to do that. But again, I had been there for a long time. It used to be back in the day, the hospitals, every few hours, they would have people come around with like grape juice, apple juice, and graham crackers. Or if you sit there a certain time, like they'll have an orderly come around with dinner. If you're there for a long time, and then let's say lunchtime roll around, they'll come around with lunch. If you're here till the next morning, they'll come around with breakfast. They don't even do that anymore. They may have you there from 7 o'clock or 6 o'clock p.m. at night to around that time the next morning. Or what if your doctor don't come until 4 or 5 a.m.? You mean to tell me you got to be thirsty and hungry until 4 or 5 a.m.? if you didn't bring anything with you or you didn't eat before you it's ridiculous. I had been there going on 6 hours before I did all of that, but I didn't curse at nobody and threaten nobody. I just walked behind there and got my water because it was a lovely man. I don't know his name, but he was of Asian descent. He was the only one that gave me water, but it wasn't enough for me. So maybe like a few minutes later, I went and got my own water. So when I turned on my camera, you see her give me a hard time because I had an outburst right before I got my cup of water. I had an outburst because I felt like I was being treated like a criminal. And I don't think she knew what happened prior to that, but she started giving me a really hard time afterwards. You know what? I think it's going to come back to bite her. Think it's going to come back to bite her. Before I started having all these problems, like a fool, I mock certain black female activists. At least one of them who's not here right now. And how the tables have turned. My. This is why I learned not to do that with people. The universe is picking up on your want for something bad to happen and your negative energy. Not necessarily so much the reason for it. A lot of times, you get in what you put out. You know what I'm saying? I learned that. This is why I don't be sitting around hoping and wishing and praying the worst on people I don't even know. I learned to have a little bit more discernment when it comes to certain things and be a little bit more patient for certain things. My main concern is for those that I love. I'm not afraid of death. I'm afraid of losing people. I feel like I lost enough people. But I'm also not a sadist. I don't like pain.